A warm welcome to you all. Thank you for joining us. And as we're about to start, let me begin with talking a little bit about us. We are Sipping Thoughts. Sipping Thoughts is a multi-platform media company co-founded by Sukirti Gupta and Meeta Gudgutia. It was set up keeping in mind the tagline, Real Women, Real Thoughts. We're a no judgment platform to create a network of women for women. Sipping Thoughts is available on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube, and of course, do check out our website as well. And about our guest today, well, Ishi Khosla needs no introduction, but I might as well do the honors. So Ishi is a practicing clinical nutritionist, columnist, author, an entrepreneur, and a researcher. She's actively involved in clinical practice at the Centre For Dietary Counseling in Delhi, where she deals with a wide range of nutrition-related health issues, including obesity, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, digestive disorders, food allergies, etc. She's founded a unique score-based nutrition app called the Weight Monitor, and also the first of its kind health food company in India called the Whole Foods. She has been conferred with several recognitions during her career. Recently, she was felicitated by the President of India for her work in the field of nutrition. She's also listed among the 25 most powerful women in the country by the India Today group. She's also authored many books. Among them are Eating at Work, The Diet Doctor, Is Wheat Killing You, and The Cholesterol Facts. She's a TEDx speaker and has a weekly column for over a decade in the Indian Express. A little bit about our session now. Building resilience with the right diet. Actually, the path to taking control of your health really starts with the right foundation of a diet that's loaded with nutritious anti-inflammatory products. In today's session, we'll get insights on what are the best and the worst foods for your immune system, how eliminating certain foods even for a short period of time can help with weight loss and with detox, how to leverage specific foods to meet our daily vitamin and mineral requirements, and very important thing, the link between inflammation and overall health. And finally, advice on how to use our diets for a lifetime of long-term health. I'm Harika, and I'm the in-house Sipping Thoughts champion for holistic well-being, and I'll be the host for this session. So before we start, a few house rules. You're all on mute to avoid any background noise. Do unmute yourself when you're asking a question. Use the chat box to ask questions and post your comments. Guys, use it as much as possible. We love to hear your comments and your feedback and the questions that arise. Keep your videos on. We like to see your beautiful faces and the reactions. This session is being streamed and you can on Facebook, so you can go back and watch it. Also, please forgive us if there are any technological glitches. So a warm welcome to you all. And in fact, let me start by asking our participants, what is it that really brought you to the webinar today? If you can share with us in the chat box, are there any specific questions that you're looking for answers to? So share with us. What brings you here? Hi, Priyanka. Thank you for the good evening. So share with us, what is it that brings you here? Okay, I know immunity building is a big one. So what to know about a healthy diet, fitness in every circumstance, that's an important one. Good health and weight loss. Okay, obesity is a concern, immunity in the current scenario, health and wellness. Awesome. So we know that these are your questions. This is what brings you here, and we'll try and address as many as possible. Thank you all for sharing. Thanks. And keep the sharing going. It just tells us to make sure that we know that, we are targeting everything that you want from out of this session. Okay, so Ishi, the lady in the spotlight, why don't I ask you, for me, I'd like to say that one is so overwhelmed with all this information that we are getting these days, what should one do, what one shouldn't do. There is all these WhatsApp forwards that suddenly come, what can build your immunity, what to add in your diet, what to take away. And it's all very confusing. You're just totally at a loss. So what should one really do?
Hi, Harika. First of all, thank you very much for that introduction, and thank you, Sipping Thoughts, for inviting me here today to talk to this wonderful audience. Um, I always feel like I'm in between, or let's say the science of nutrition is in between individuals' happiness and love for food. I think food, we all have a relationship with food. And like you said, that there is, today is probably the time when it's assumed such great significance like never before. We have been talking about food, we have been talking about immunity, but I think it just the COVID-19 has made it so much more important in everybody's mind, and which is sad, because immunity building should be a process, or immunity should be a issue which should be part of daily living, and we didn't have to wait for a COVID-19. Yet, having understood the importance and the fact that diet is the cornerstone of building immunity, we all realize that. Yet, we are in a tug of war. We are constantly engaging with food and almost feeling guilty about eating the foods that we like to eat or we love to eat, and then what we should be eating. And this tug of war of what happens in between is really it intrigues me, and it need not be there.
Like
And
a love and hate relationship, no, we had with food. It just needs to be love, I think.
it has to be love. I mean, unless and until you love your food, you won't even enjoy it, you won't digest it, and it won't. So we need to be happy, and we need, that's all a part of being, the immunity building process. Your mind and your mental state, your levels of stress all contribute to a powerful immune system. And but this relationship should not get toxic, and that means there are real reasons for what's going on. And I would say our relationship with food is not working, because, like you just said, that there is overflow of information and conversations around food. And in India, we probably have the treasure of traditional wisdom, which not many cultures enjoy. And so we have it from our great grandparents and grandparents and parents. We've inherited so much information, and now we have acquired so much science and the scientific basis of so many things. And yet we are nowhere close to being
We're just
solving the
lost,
problem.
I think, with so much of this information. So,
Yes, it's,
today you have to guide us navigate this this whole overflow.
I really hope one can, and it's not tough, it's not difficult if you understand how it all starts. So my my conversation today will be getting into a deeper understanding of what the immune system is, where the immune system is, how it functions, and how you can build it up. So unless you until you know the causes of disturbance in the immune system, and the causes of the reasons why you are not able to have a happy relationship with food, why we are constantly at war, will only then allow the solutions to be found, which means that cure is in the cause. So we get down to, so we have about 20 minutes, I assume, and I'll try and explain as much as possible, and make it also give you some specific tools to begin, and then take it forward, and be happy to answer questions.
Sure.
So, and I, as assume that we all believe that there is a role of diet in building immunity. That's unquestioned, and so we have diet, lifestyle, and genetics. Of course, we have acquired immunity and we have innate immunity, what we are born with. But today, I think what we are focusing on is what we have as acquired immunity. So, without complicating the matter, I will just begin with my slides. We have the first slide, if you don't mind.
Okay, we'll just try and see. Yeah.
I am not able to load this time. One sec. You have the loaded slide?
Uh, Let me just get our support.
So essentially, what I have said is we go back to understanding where it all starts. And remember that whether it's COVID-19 or whether it's, a viral infection, or whether it's diabetes, or whether it's autoimmune problems, or whether it is cancer, or whether it's your mood or depression, um, all of this begins. This is the old one, Harika.
Rohit, we need to load the other one.
Yeah. So all of these are to do with your immune system. It's whether it's a cancer prevention or autoimmunity or obesity or diabetes today, whatever we are talking about is now being linked to the immune system, which really begins in the digestive system. So we all have heard of this dictum which says you are what you eat.
Yeah.
But today we say you are what you digest. It's not only what you eat. So what's happening is that there are problems. So no matter what, uh, yeah. Can we have the next one, please? I say a window of opportunity because it really has been a trigger for many people who were not, in tune with the need to look at their diet and lifestyles as a wake up call. And where COVID-19, in fact, they have found that the risk of infection or to COVID-19 has increased significantly, almost 70 to 90% among people who have, either diabetes or obesity or hypertension or other autoimmune problems, which really is, like Harika used the word inflammation, which have in your people bodies which have inflammation in them. And so basically, I'm using two words: the immune system, and I'm using the word the digestive system and the inflammation, and they're all connected. So the next slide, please. The next slide. So immunity is the only freedom. Actually, when I say that, it's a freedom not only from COVID-19 or any other viral or bacterial infection, but I am repeating myself saying that it is freedom from almost all the diseases that we are talking about as chronic and degenerative. They all are beginning at the immune level. And the immunity, for all the listening audience, the next slide, please, is something which we have in sitting in our digestive system. It's not something which we believed as in modern science. All our traditional practices of health and well-being, whether it was naturopathy or Ayurveda or Unani or homeopathy for that matter, we all realize the importance of, these practitioners realize the importance of digestion and a good digestive system for a good, healthy body and mind. But today, science is reinforcing and has understood this link. And also the fact that almost 80 to 90% of our immune system, or you can say two-thirds of our immune system, is actually sitting in our gut. So the conversations around gut and how it functions is what I'm going to be sharing with you. And obviously, when you're talking about digestion, we're talking about the gut. It has a lot to do with what we eat. So you are what you eat and you are what you digest. And that really is the sum total of who we are. And I'll tell you when I say that what I mean. Can I have the next slide, please? And obviously what happens in the gut doesn't happen in an overnight or a jiffy. The next slide please. It takes a whole process to build up a good or healthy gut. And I just shared with you about the issue regarding overweight, obesity, all the inflammatory conditions being more correlated with the poor immune system. And there are now several studies. This is a relatively about 3 months old study, but even newer studies have come up to say that those who were obese, so according to this an ICU report in UK, they did a study on over about 700 COVID patients, and they found that almost 60% of them, 70% of them had obesity or BMI of over 30, and about 60% had died. And today, these figures in a larger study are even worse. So definitely, there is a correlation between obesity, immunity, and our gut. And that's. Can I have the next slide, please? Yes, so it is time to reflect and empower ourselves. And next slide, please. So I spoke about the fact that our relationship with food is not working. And like I said, we'll again go back to finding answers within our gut. So I will try and operate the slides myself. I don't know why I'm not able to do that. Anyway, the next slide, please. Yes, so it all starts with the gut. The next slide. So this is a quote by a Greek physician, the father of what we call modern medicine, 2,500 years ago. That's a long time ago, who established the correlation. And what really, I'm repeating this, what really is in the gut that creates the disturbance? It's what we call our gut microbiome. Can I have the next slide, please? Uh, so the gut microbiome is those trillions of bacteria, virus, and fungi which sit in the digestive system, and they determine exactly who we are. In a sense, they determine our mood, our state of mind. They determine what nutrients we're absorbing. They determine our immune system. So all of the functions of the immune system are mediated in the gut through the gut microbiome. And the gut microbiome, or the gut flora, or the little bacteria, the good bacteria. You've all heard of probiotics. You've all heard of the importance of pre and probiotics. These days, everyone's taking some form of kombucha or Yakult or whatever. So yes, the reason why this is happening is because we are pampering our gut flora. We are giving the gut flora the food that it likes. And the food it likes is not only probiotics, but also what we call prebiotics and several other good foods. And it doesn't like certain foods which include all the toxins and the medicines and the chemicals. And it doesn't even like stress. So it responds negatively to stress. So what our goal today is to recover or restore the balance of the good bacteria in our gut. And that's the real key to creating good health. And if the gut flora is disturbed, we call it a situation which is called dysbiosis, which is a imbalance between the good and the bad. So it's like the cops and the bad guys. If there are more bad guys in the city, we have trouble. So what happens when there is trouble, when there is a dysbiosis, is what Harika used the word inflammation. Inflammation is in fact nothing but literally when you get hurt, there is redness, there is fire, there is heat, there is it literally, it's like inflammation is like fire in the body. And quite actually, this is what happens inside. There is increased inflammation. And today, modern scientists have pin down inflammation to be the root cause of all diseases. All chronic degenerative diseases begin with inflammation. So I revise what I said, that we all diseases begin with inflammation. All diseases begin in the gut, and the gut microbiome determines all of this. So you can imagine how important it is to understand the links on about these, join the dots and understand what's going on in our bodies. And I will ultimately make it very simple for you on how to deal with it, but you will understand why feeding the right food to your body, to get the right nutrients, to get anti-inflammatory foods, to get antioxidant foods, all of these are important goals to boost our and build our immune system. So you build your good gut flora and you build your immune system. That's how it is. So now this slide shows the importance of the neurotransmitters, which means the happiness hormones, the pleasure hormones, the satisfaction hormones in our body, which keep us happy or deter or unhappy for that matter, are more than 80%. Actually, 90% of the serotonin is secreted in the gut, not in the brain. So it's so how your mood is related, and of course, like I said earlier, that it's not only your food but your mood which will determine a strong immune system. So sometimes we say that our mood destroyed or disturbed the gut flora, but we can also say that the food can destroy your mood. So it is a cycle which is a two-way cycle, and the connection between the gut and the brain has been so strongly established today by scientists, and it's called the gut brain axis, to the extent that the gut is being called the second brain. So we have
Absolutely.
a brain up here and we have a brain up there. So why am I talking about all of these things? Because I want you to join the dots, and for you to be able to manage your diet, you need to know the connections. So, and I know that in my practice, I get patients who are totally normal. Otherwise, they have everything going for them. They have happy lives and spouses and families, and yet they for some reason are having mood swings and anxiety, and they can't understand how why they behave in certain ways. And we just go back to their gut, we start building up their gut flora, we eliminate certain things, we add certain things, and bingo, it's like 1 week they are different people, and they misbehave and it comes back. So it's so direct. And I have patients who have been on 20 years of antidepressants, which is a long time, and they are told that they have to live with these medicines. They get them, we get them off these medicines, and we get them to be happy without medicines. And so whether it's happiness or sleep, let me tell you, it's all connected. And if we are unhappy or if we don't sleep enough, we are all increasing our inflammation in our body, and thereby compromising on our immune function. So we've begun with the, can I have the next slide, please? The next slide, please. Yeah. Um, so yeah, the food that we're consuming today is addictive in nature. That is another aspect of our food. We have talked about dysbiosis, and I'm just moving away before we get back on the journey of how to build a good gut flora. So this is another reason why when we said that we are unable to control our food intake. So whether it's our body weight, sometimes we're just eating so frugally and we are still weighing so much more than we should. And the reverse is sometimes we're eating so much and yet not being able to gather an ounce. So both spectrums tell us something about the gut, again, the absorption of the gut, or rather what we call inflammation. So that's one part of it. And the other is the addictive nature of food. The food that we consume, there is a whole area of nutrition today and of science and neuropsychology. We have discovered a new system called the the cannabinoid system. The endocannabinoid system is a new, it's like the nervous system. This is a new system which tells us nature has a system which makes us addicted to certain things which are important. And sometimes when it is overstimulated or wrongly stimulated, it leads to addictive, it leads to inability to control food or an addiction. And certain foods also have these addictive properties. For instance, the sugar has effect on the mind, like cocaine. We have in gluten, that's a wheat protein, it's called gluteomorphine. In milk, we have a milk protein called caseomorphine, etc., etc. And we know caffeine also has an addictive component, but these actually stimulate the endocannabinoid system, which leads to addictive, the nature of addictiveness in our food and our inability to control our food. And this is pure science. This is very evolving, and yet it's very well known to the food technologists and the food manufacturers. And a lot of, I think I would say, billions and billions of dollars are being spent by our food companies to add components in the food that we eat, in the processed food or the industrially manufactured food, to make it addictive. So that's why you can't put down that packet of chips once you open it, because there are things in it which make you addicted to it. So it's a whole area of conversation. But yes, when we are wrestling with our willpower, we know that we have some components of addictive foods in our bodies. And once we remove those or we deal with them, we are able to, it's not only removal, we also have to replace with the right alternatives. So then that's when we actually have a control over our food. And all our whether it's children, animals in the wild, we all have control over our body. But when we eat wrong, it gets disturbed. So I won't spend more time talking about this. Can I have the next slide, please?
The next slide.
We have the next slide. We can leave this one. You can go. I've already discussed it. The next slide. Okay. So a lot of these addictive foods are also inflammatory. And I go back to the gut flora, and I go back to what happens when the gut flora gets disturbed. So when the gut flora gets disturbed by wrong food, it kind of, the gut is actually a lining. It's like the skin. It's like the barrier between us and what we eat. And it controls what it has to absorb and what it has to protect you from. Like the skin controls what it has to protect you from, the gut lining does the same job. It's the longest, largest barrier after the skin. And it is a single cell barrier. It is a lining, it's a gut lining. And this gets disturbed and inflamed and opens out. So the single cells are lined like bricks, and they're tightly packed with what we call tight junctions. And these tight junctions open out, and when there is inflammation, and when there is a disturbance in our gut flora, and when these open out, either thanks to wrong food, like I said, inflammatory proteins, some of the inflammatory proteins include animal protein, include even your dairy, to some extent some cereals and wheat, and or just medicines or antibiotics, or just like I said earlier, stress, or just some toxins and pesticides and chemicals around. So this dysbiosis opens out the junctions, and then there is passage of food which is undigested or partially digested, which goes into the bloodstream. And this is recognized as by the immune system as abnormal, and there is an antibody secretion or an antigen antibody reaction, which again causes further inflammation in the blood and in the body. And these inflammatory components can then go and lodge themselves or destroy parts of your body depending on your weak links, depending on your genetics. So it can be the thyroid, it can be the joints, it can be the brain, it can be the skin, it can be wherever. So this leads to what we call food sensitivities. Today, we are seeing a lot of conversation on food allergies. We are getting a lot of people are getting tested, gluten intolerance, dairy, and people are going vegan. All of these are stemming from the fact that we are becoming sensitive to the very food which was treasured by us and eaten by our ancestors, thanks to the change in our gut flora and thereby get gut lining, creating an inflammatory response in the body. I hope by the end of this session, these terms are well ingrained and at least they make you go further into reading and understanding these more deeply and better, because this is where it all starts. And the whole conversation around how can I protect, I always say if COVID-19 is a respiratory illness or even whatever, it's a circulatory illness with whatever complications, the protection really lies within our gut. So it's very hard for anybody to understand how this happens. If I have asthma or I have pneumonia, how is my gut coming into play? It's a common sense question and a common sense reaction. But yes, it is important that we understand that the immune system is sitting in the gut and we break the gut lining thanks to wrong foods. And then it leads to what we call a cytokine storm and inflammation. So can I, this slide is very self-explanatory. You can see on the left, the tight junctions, and on the right are the open junctions, which are allowing not only the undigested food, but even toxins to cross over. So I think I have taken up a long time explaining this. I will now give you the solutions. Can I have the next slide, please?
Actually, Ishi, in a lot of ways, our body, inflammation or any disease is our body speaking to us about things not being okay with the gut flora, in our gut and how we can repair it. So it's more than stopping anything external. It's about maybe trying to restore it through whatever other means.
Yes, absolutely. So we always say, listen to your gut. That gut feeling is very, very important. Can we skip this slide, please? So how do we heal the gut? Fixing gut health in a holistic manner to win. Let's see how we can do that. The next slide, please. So this is what I begin with a 3P formula, and this is going to be your take-home message. The 3P formula has been devised to make eating very simple for you and to make to understand your food in a far simpler way, because it's very complicated for you to say, oh, I need this food for vitamin C and I need this food for vitamin B and I need I need my oranges and my amla for my C, and I need my proteins, and I need it. You don't eat like that. You don't eat nutrients. You eat food, and let's talk food, and let's go beyond just breaking down food into oversimplified nutrients, which will never be successful because you will tip over. Oh, fruits are healthy for me, so let me just start overdoing, maybe just having fruits and fruits. It doesn't work like that. So we've got to understand. So it's been this 3P formula is a quick way to understand how to plan your day with respect to food. And we talk in terms of food groups. So the first P, can I have the next slide? The next one. Yeah. So the first P is planning your day. Planning your day is critical. And can I just begin with the third P and I'll go on to the next one? Okay, this is fine. Let's stay with the second P, which is proteins. So I keep changing the order, but let's talk about proteins. Since we're talking about immunity, proteins are critical, having adequate amounts of protein. So ensure that 2 meals of the day have good protein content in them. Now, whether proteins can be in the form of animal protein or plant protein, that's your choice. But if you take animal protein, make sure you don't overdo it. And I would say for people who eat animal protein, not more than twice or thrice a week is okay. And even among the proteins in animal protein, fish certainly is a better option, and organic chicken, free range chicken if possible, and of course limitation of red meat and dairy. Dairy is also now becoming we are becoming sensitive to it thanks to the leaky gut, like I just explained. So, 2 servings of, and plant proteins include everything, including dals, legumes, rajmas, chanas, all the, even the nuts include are protein rich sources. So ensure that you have, even your basin is a protein, sprouts are proteins. So protein rich meals a day paired with vegetables. Now when I say paired with vegetables, there's a reason for that. Most proteins barring sprouts are acidic in nature, and we need to, for boosting our immunity and preserving our health, we need to have a rather tilt towards alkaline foods. And so whenever we have an acidic food, we need to neutralize it by having alkaline foods, and vegetables are, and fruits are alkaline. So pair your proteins with vegetables or fruits, ideally with vegetables, and 50% of your vegetables should be in an uncooked form. I'll talk about it in the next P. So protein is very clear, and it's very simple to do a dal or a chila or sprouts in one meal with vegetables or a vegetable juice, and the other meal could be a similar meal with basically a similar protein depending on what you eat, with a soup or a steamed vegetables or whatever. So it's a very simple rule to have. Can I go have the third P, please?
What about the portion size when you're saying? Is there a minimum portion size of the
Yes,
protein?
I'll just address that. The next slide, please, the third P. Yeah. So the portion for proteins, essentially, it goes by according to you or your requirements, which means according to your body weight and according to your exercise levels. So, but for a normal person who's engaging in modest exercise and activity, it's about 0.75 grams. I'm glad you asked that question, because it is very commonly misinterpreted. 0.75 grams per kg ideal body weight. So if I am a 60 kgs and I have a 0.75, so I would be okay with about 40, with 50 grams or 45 or 50 grams of protein. If doing a heavy exercise workout with weights, then it could be 1 gram per kg body weight. So 60 grams means 60 kgs means 60 grams of protein. So a lot of people who go to the gym are given a wrong formula, and they actually double it up, and sort of they make it per pound rather than per kg, which makes them feel inadequate, and then they are told to have protein powders, etc., etc. And excess protein obviously can load your kidneys. I just told you it's acidic in nature. It can affect you negatively, your liver, your kidney, and lots of them break out into rashes and pimples and acne, and a lot of disturbance with these extra protein boxes which are being handed over to these young boys and girls. So yeah, coming back to the 3 Ps, the third P is protective foods. Protective foods include the immunity building foods, all the brightly colored, rainbow colored vegetables and fruits that we have in nature are really your best allies and best defenses to build resilience and to build your immune system. And these have not only what we call nutrients, but they also have what we call phytonutrients, which are the phytochemicals, which are the colors and the flavors, which give you the benefit of the immunity building component. So the colors and the flavors are extremely critical for us. So try and do at least like a rainbow or 5 different colors on a daily basis. And the fresher, the better, the more organic, the better, and the more seasonal, the better, local, the better. And of course, at least they also have, fresh fruits and vegetables also have what we call prana, or the enzymes. So these, if you cook them, we lose that benefit. So ensure that at least 50% of your vegetables and fruits are uncooked, which means they could be in the form of a salad, they could be in the form of vegetable juices, or they could be in just like a fruit. And so that's not difficult. So maybe now the other aspect of this is, just 1 second, should not be running out. So just so they are so important that my recommendation to everybody is dedicate one meal of the day to these protective foods. Like I said, dedicate 2 meals to proteins, dedicate one meal to just vegetables or slash fruits, which is maybe just saying having a breakfast of fruits, or maybe having a dinner of soup and salad, or maybe just having a salad and sprouts for lunch. Now that is something very, very doable. So this will not only ensure that you're getting adequate quantities on the servings of vegetables and fruits, but also that your calories remain under check. You can also do 2-3 days in the week of just vegetables and fruits. That's called alternate day fasting. But so this is how one can ensure that we get the right amounts of food and don't just focus on cereals and proteins like most people are doing. And the other parts of the protective food include nuts, include pro and prebiotic foods. So these are also very, very important for building up. I've already spoken about this. Probiotics and prebiotics are nothing but foods which help to grow the friendly bacteria. All the fermented foods in the body create a medium in the body, in the gut, to grow good bacteria. So you can take probiotic foods, you can take probiotic pills, and you should take prebiotic foods to ensure that good gut flora is formed. And even our good old isabgol, which the grandparents would eat when they had tummy issues, is a prebiotic. And for those who can have it, I think I strongly recommend it. I think now we go back to the first P, which is the planning. After doing the proteins and the protective foods, we go back to the planning, which means plan your day, like you plan your time, your meetings, your clothes, all of that. Plan your day with respect to food and what cereals you're going to have, what when you are going to have cereals. I mentioned salads. Try not to do salads after 6 o'clock. Try and have your kacha raw vegetables before before 6-7 o'clock. And in general, plan, because timing is also very important. What time you're going to have.
Did we lose Ishi, I think?
Yeah, I think we lost Ishi. We'll just try and get her back. Yeah, we'll just get her back.
Sorry, there was a problem with the connection.
No worries.
Okay. So we have the slide on the plan. The first P, please.
No, could we just, the first P. Thanks.
Yeah. So where the cereals are really what I think everyone understands. Cereal is not a breakfast cereal I'm referring to here. It's basically all the grains that we have, the staples that we have, whether it's a bread or a chapati or rice or dosa or idli or pizzas or all the kinds of the pastas, etc. These are all what we refer to as cereals. And depending on if you have who you are, the food sensitivity, if you are intolerant to certain foods, so you need to plan what you're going to be eating and at what time. And according to
The best advice for cereals, cereals should be taken in terms of the choice, as to, like I said, what suits you. The timing of the cereal should be by about 6:30, 7 o'clock. And this is something which has been corroborated by Ayurveda. The Chakra Samhita also says that anaj should be finished by sunset. And the man who wants to live long must not have cereal more than twice a day. And the man who has a digestive issue must not have cereals more than once a day. And that pretty much is in sync with whatever we are saying. So don't plan your foods around cereals. You plan your food around vegetables and the proteins, like I said. And the cereal is according to your requirements. If you are underweight or overweight, how much you need, whether you need it in both the meals or 3 meals, will be determined by who you are. And what is the choice of the cereal is also going to be determined by who you are. And today, with people who are getting intolerant to gluten, etc., millets and rice and quinoa, alternate grains are certainly much better options. And address, when I say plan, also look at nutritional deficiencies, which are important particularly for a healthy immune system. And vitamin D and zinc are two very, very critical nutrients which we are finding deficient in people today, and are extremely important to building up our immunity by building up our gut lining. Vitamin D, vitamin, of course, C, we all know is an immunity building vitamin, and vitamin B12, all the multi B complexes are all very important. So look at nutritional deficiencies, and iron deficiency also can be a critical piece here, because we find many people iron deficient or anemic. And
Ishi,
plan.
if I can interrupt, because we took up raw foods and vegetables and fruits, there were a lot of questions about, in COVID times, how safe is it to have raw fruits and vegetables, and also can it be one complete meal, for example, a fruit salad, and which fruits really are good. I think people are asking this question about seasonal fruit like mangoes and others, because there's a lot of hearsay, which is good, which is not good.
Okay, great question there. So, COVID-19 has created this issue regarding, the raw element. But as long as you're washing your vegetables well, and you're not eating raw food outside your house, and salads and uncooked food outside the house is completely a no-no. But at home, as long as you are washing your vegetables well, either in salted water or with baking soda or a vinegar rinse or a potassium permanganate or an ionizer, whatever works for you, and they're washed thoroughly, there is absolutely no reason to worry about it. And the other option I always have is, start growing your little green patches or pieces of land wherever you can, to grow your own greens and your own salads is a wonderful idea. But please don't fear raw vegetables as raw. It's only a question of washing everything well. And for those who have digestive problems, yes, it's an issue. A lot of people don't tolerate, raw vegetables. So then first fix the digestion, and meanwhile try and do things like amla and vitamin C, etc., or just simply do fruits. And coming to which fruits, I would say obviously always prefer the local fruits, local and seasonal fruits. And mangoes are very high on beta carotene, uh, and of course magnesium, also very important immunity building nutrient, which goes untalked about and unrecognized. But so mangoes are rich in beta carotene, and the significance of beta carotene lies because it helps to make the membrane stronger. Whether it's our skin, vitamin A is given as a skin vitamin, the same reason why it helps the digestive lining, it makes it stronger. And of course, it has other benefits as well. So beta carotene, vitamin A, in all the yellow vegetables and yellow fruits, and all the berries. The amla is also our Indian berry, whether it's jamun, also our Indian berry, falsa, Indian berries. You don't have to look at imported and very costly options there. And I would say look at a citrus fruit, look at, so I mean, the rule of thumb here is variety, and go by the colors. So different colors and varieties is going to be your best bet. So don't worry about this has vitamin C and this has beta carotene and this has that. Just go by the colors and you will be in a good place. And yes, I for fruit juices I have a reservation because it gives you too much sugar. And so yes, I would, even if it's a fresh juice, but yes, vegetable juices are great options to give you all the benefits without giving you the extra sugar. And I hope I've answered that question. So before I move to the balance part of the planning, I would like to just simply say that I have a checklist. So if you like, you can make a note here. A basic checklist: have a carrot, a cucumber, and a tomato or a beetroot or equivalent of that every day. Have amla or lemon juice, at least one amla or one lemon minimum every day. Have a seasonal fruit every day. Have a portion of some green or leafy vegetable or a seasonal saag every day. So some greens every day, and a handful of nuts and seeds every day, or even if it's not nuts and seeds and sprouts. So this is a bare minimum checklist which you can have, and if you're consuming that, you are getting a bare minimum. Sorry.
Repeat the checklist because it'll just give everybody a chance to make a note.
I'll repeat that. A carrot, a cucumber, and beetroot or a tomato, depending on whatever or equivalents of that. Seasonal, basically a seasonal fruit every day. A lemon or an amla at least every day. A green vegetable or a green leafy vegetable, a saag every day, at least 5 times a week, and a handful of nuts or seeds / sprouts every day. And it's pretty easy to deal with this. It's really, so this will give you your quotient of protective foods. And practice mindful eating. And if you have issues with your digestion, or how do you know you have a good gut, maybe some red flags here. If you have low energy, if you don't feel good after eating, you feel bloated, or you have constipation, or you have acid reflux, or IBS kind of symptoms, or your joints hurt, or you have an autoimmune condition, you need to look deep into your gut. If you have even infections, frequent colds and coughs, it's a sign. If you have skin issues, are signs. So definitely maintain a food diary. And if you're suspecting some issues, then you eliminate those foods for a few days and see how you feel. And if you feel there is a difference, then it's time to do a blood check, and see where you are and seek professional help. So these are all about planning. So we talk about the 3 Ps. Once again, I will revise them: your proteins, your protective foods, and planning. And it really can't get simpler than that. So you don't have to worry too much about what you're doing, as long as you're able to deal with the 3 Ps and plan your day accordingly. The cereals is an issue. Like I said, today we find many people having insensitivity. So do your checks and determine which ones are for you and how much is for you. So I think, can I have the next slide, please? The next slide, please. So I think I've discussed all of these things, and we are also sort of running out of time. But I would just like to add 2 or 3 points before I leave it open for questions. One is, well, good hydration is very important, and dehydrating fluids like alcohol and caffeine should be limited. Also, it's important to understand that your you know the spices, the spice, we keep talking about garlic and ginger, and all of these things are also antioxidants, and they have immune boosting properties. I don't need you to talk to you too much about these things. And supplementation must be done under advice. And
One other thing,
avoid. And one more thing which I have skipped is sugar. So we talked about gut flora, we talked about the good microbiome. So among the other things which hurt the gut or the gut flora are excessive sugar. It grows what we call, it supports the growth of candida and fungus, which is a harmful kind of growth, which can also compromise your immunity. So which is why there is so much conversation on going low on sugars, and preferring alternatives. I'm not saying sweetness is something we all like, most of us like, and so use better tools to satisfy your sweet tooth. You can have either dark chocolate or just dried fruits, or simply have jaggery or honey based, or these equivalents as sugar sweeteners, but don't overdo those also, because they can be a problem with those who have candida. So too much sugar also hurts the gut, and processed food also has chemicals which hurt the gut. So please avoid chemicals. And one very important message is about fats. A lot of people believe that low fat diets are important for building good health, or remaining fit, or even for your immunity. The fact is completely the opposite, that we need fats, and a good percentage of your calories should come from healthy fats, and they are actually immunity building. So whether it's desi ghee, or whether it's coconut oil, or it's butter, or it's just nuts and seeds, which are great carriers of good fats, whether it's chia seeds or sunflower seeds, all of these have a very important role to improve this gut barrier, to feed the gut flora, and to become resilient. So don't shy away from fats, but yes, shy away from toxic fats, which are found in commercially prepared bakeries, which is hydrogenated fats, or what we have, trans fats. So trans fats are the toxic fats, oils which are reused again and again, which is used in commercial frying. Those oils are toxic. So commercially prepared fried food is toxic. And so ensure that if you are at home and you feel like having a fried snack, go ahead and have it and discard the oil. So these are, of course, it's not the choice of cooking method, but if you do feel like, don't, like I said, don't wrestle with your willpower, make it in good oil and then discard the oil. So there are ways of dealing with your cravings and your favorite foods. Make your bakery in butter or in healthy fats. I think a lot of people are already doing that. So, but commercially prepared biscuits and commercially prepared cookies and cakes can be sources of toxic fats. So I think,
Actually,
with that,
I'm going to open it out to questions, because there's so many questions people are asking, and the topic is so vast that
yes, absolutely, I can go on and on and on.
Yeah, let me just have people ask their questions. Damini, why don't you take it on?
Yeah, so there are a lot of questions coming in on, about dairy products, about curd, about milk, and products. If dairy products are causing inflammation, a lot of people are asking about that. So, what are the options to that? What is the best time to have curd? That's one another question that a lot of audience is asking on the chat. So, ma'am, if you would like to.
Lovely. So, it's interesting that curd is being talked about, because it is believed to be a probiotic. And there is now commercially available probiotic curd, but homemade curd is not really, doesn't qualify as a probiotic. It has a good bacteria, but not sufficient enough to be called a probiotic. But yes, it supports a healthy gut. So for all those, I'll take an Ayurvedic perspective here. And, we all believe that curd is actually cooling. And charch is cooling. But the fact is that according to Ayurveda, it is heating. And, so you can understand why people who have inflammatory conditions, joint pains, etc., or even asthma are told to avoid curd, because it aggravates the inflammation. So we do look at it as a very positive food. And in fact, Ayurveda has strict rules for the seasons in which people are to have curd or not have curd. So I am not so enlightened with the science of Ayurveda, but certainly I can give you the scientific answer to this, that curd, of course, is a good food for those who can digest it. But for those who have issues with their health, need to take it with caution. It's not for everybody. for all times and at all times. And if you are dairy intolerant, if you don't, I'm not talking of lactose. If you're lactose intolerant, you can have curd. But if you're dairy intolerant, which word is very often misunderstood, then curd can be a problem too. So, and a lot of people, I would say 50% of those who are wheat intolerant are also dairy intolerant.
Ishi, one quick thing about probiotic and prebiotic, because that's a question people are coming up with as well. And there is not that much clarity on what is probiotic and what is pre and what they can take. So if you could shed some light on that.
Okay, so probiotics, strictly according to the definition, are foods which provide you a certain strength of good bacteria live in the gut. So that by that definition, therefore, curd doesn't come in. Domestic curd doesn't come in unless it's probiotic commercial curd, or it could be a commercially prepared drink like a Yakult or the equivalents of that. Or it could just be pills, the probiotic pills which are available. So those are also probiotics, which satisfy the definition of a probiotic. But there are prebiotics. So curd would at best be called a prebiotic, or fermented foods which have the good bacteria. And fermented foods are a part of our culture. Traditionally, all the the kanjis and the fermented drinks that we have, or even kombucha for that matter. These are all fermented products which create a pH in the body, in the gut, for growth of good bacteria. So these are what we call prebiotics. Or they are fibers which are not digested by the body, which are a special kind of FOS, fruit oligosaccharides, which help the growth of these good bacteria. And so you don't have to worry too much about the technicalities and the technical names, but as long as you are having indigestible fibers, whole grains, and the soluble fibers in your diet, which comes from the foods we've discussed, you have a good level of prebiotics. Simply put, even banana is a prebiotic. Onions are prebiotics. So you don't have to worry about I'm eating a probiotic, but just eat a variety of vegetables and fruits, and that kind of will take care of it. But yes, I have a special, always mention for psyllium husk, which is isabgol, which has a specific kind of prebiotic benefit. So that is something I can recommend exclusive of the vegetables and fruits and through food. So I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, so one last question we would like to ask, and a lot of audience is asking over here. It's about sugar-free. As you mentioned in your slide that sugar, everything is so addictive and all. So what are sugar-free options, natural and stevia and all, should they go for it? A lot of people are asking about stevia, sugar-free options, natural sugar-free options as well. So what's your take on that, ma'am?
So let's divide the sweeteners into two kinds. One is the ones with the chemical origin, and the one which is, these are non-caloric sweeteners, which are natural. So stevia is non-caloric sweetener, which is not chemical based, but it has very few calories or virtually none, and the chemical based ones. So as I mentioned earlier, our gut does not like chemicals. So I think that answers the question, and we will not go further into this. But yes, the natural sweeteners are certainly non-caloric natural sweeteners are fine. But my request to everybody who's listening is do a combination and do if you have a sweet tooth, use natural foods as sweeteners as well. You don't have to have only stevia. You can have a little bit of honey. Honey is a prebiotic for the listening audience. So it has, other benefits, immune boosting benefits. So rather than just look at sugar and non-caloric sweeteners, look at healthy natural sweeteners in your diet. Jaggery has sweetness, but it lends many other benefits to you. So if you get more benefits, it's a bonus. So you satisfy your sweet tooth and you get some extra benefits. Probably that would be a better way of dealing with it. Even dried fruits, dried apricots, prunes, they all have so many benefits which go beyond the sugar part. So I think having a combination is a better idea.
Ishi, I'm going to have to, maybe ask for one last tip that you can share with us before we wind up the session.
Like you said, the field, the canvas is so large, and there are so many issues which need to be dealt with. But having said that, if you simplify your understanding of food and how it sort of works, you can really take your own health in your own hands. And when it comes to your immunity or your health, um, you are really, in a certain way, in the driver's seat. So it's up to you what you do, how you drive your car, how you decide to live. And so, you can make that difference solely by yourself. So with that, I would just say that it is not that difficult. And, the choices that you make are completely within your own control, provided you do it right and understand it right. So I would just say, for everybody who's listened, that thank you very much for being here with us this evening. And all of you, keep safe, eat healthy, eat smart, and remain happy and positive. That's very important.
Thank you so much, Ishi. So much, in fact, so much information, and helps us to be able to now organize. But the most important tip, like you said, is tuning into ourselves, tuning into our body, and we listen in. Our body's talking to us all the time. So, and that's where the journey begins. So thank you. And like you said, such a vast topic, and but enlightening, and answering all our questions. Thank you for joining us so much.
Thank you very much.
And we had a lovely audience. Thank you all for joining us as well. Thank you.